Hey, that's her. She's the one that dealt with the wrestle match.
Fans are really like, oh my god, I can't wait to see him in there with the Miz and the Mysterio.
Yeah,
That's
you.
a feature. It doesn't have to be a main event, but a feature match against some. And they could really have a single match because he don't know how to work. But if you stick the guy in a tag, but I don't see. I haven't seen poor Dominic. To me, I don't get it. I really don't. And I don't see why there. It's like we've got the Rolling Stones, ladies and gentlemen. The Rolling Stones will appear on our program. They'll be doing cooking. Mick's going to do a meatloaf. Keith will have some interesting brownies. You know, yes, they're celebrities. Everybody knows who they are. Do we want to watch them cook? That's the thing. I will see. We'll find out. What's next?
The next match, a grudge match. The third match listed here for WrestleMania Night 1. Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin with Madcap Moss.
All right. Again, we liked Drew McIntyre when they were pushing him. He beat Brock Lesnar, looked like a dominant guy. Then all of a sudden, several weeks later, they said, well, maybe we shouldn't have done that. And they started beating him again. And now he's been interminably entwined, inexorably intertwined with Happy and Mosh Pit. And even if Corbin and Mosh Pit were really good wrestlers, those gimmicks prevent anybody from wanting to see anything they do, don't they? Who's watching that shit?
It doesn't appeal to me.
Well, so hopefully Drew will win.
But they've successfully made me not care about Drew McIntyre. And when I watched his promo on SmackDown, I never realized this before, he delivers his lines the same way Randy Orton does. Go watch a Drew McIntyre interview and a Randy Orton interview back-to-back. They deliver their lines the exact same way.
Hey, there you go. Somebody talented in the audience. If we're wanting to make these deep fakes, go make a deep fake of Drew McIntyre doing a Randy Orton promo and vice versa. Let's see if we can tell the difference.
Well, Jim, while no one's looking forward to that match, perhaps nobody will also look forward to the next match. For the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, the champions Jimmy and Jey Uso defend their championships against Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs.
I was not the booger. Not the booger. Okay, so you've got, again, what 5 or 6 people were throwing babies in the air when old Shaky Nakamura decided to come to the WWF. And now he looks like an elderly, potentially physically infirm, spastic Japanese fellow being played to the ring by a fucking tie-dyed, muscle-bound, guitar player named Booger. And there's the Usos. That's for one of the... How many tag team titles they have now? They got SmackDown, they got Raw, they got one of the 3 tag team champions in the company.
Well, there's also women's tag team champions. Don't forget that.
I'm sorry. One of the 6 tag team. You're talking me out of wanting to watch these shows. Now you realize this.
Hold on.
Can we rethink WrestleMania?
Let me talk you back into it. Match 5 on night 1, WrestleMania 38, as some may know it, or I think as Vince McMahon says, don't use any numbers. For the SmackDown Women's Championship, Charlotte Flair defends against Rowdy Ronda Rousey.
We wanted to see that a lot more in concept than we have in execution, but as we mentioned a little bit earlier, the match still will probably carry the day, even if the build has been rotten. Ronda Rousey is putting no effort, has no oomph or passion or emotion in her speaking because she probably A, doesn't care, or B, doesn't feel like she does it very well and she's right or whatever. But as an athlete, she'll probably put some pride in that performance, and Charlotte is going to do everything she can to steal the show because she's in position to. As I told her dad one time in the airport the night after his match with Luger on a Clash of Champions, Nate, you stole the show, but it was petty theft. It'll be a good match. I don't know if I would have pulled over off a busy interstate and stopped my entire life to fucking watch it, but it'll probably be a pretty good match.
Those 5 matches, plus on night 1, on the KO show with Kevin Owens, special guest Stone Cold Steve Austin.
And obviously that'll be the last thing that we see. It better be. What on the lineup that you just read is going to follow Steve Austin coming out and farting live?
I don't think you can. I don't think you can follow that with anything. Not on this lineup. No way.
No. So, hey, if Fritz Von Erich came back from the dead and clawed fucking Gary Hart, maybe they'd pop for that. But otherwise, yeah, I think that's
Gary Hart would be coming back from the dead as well. It would be 2 zombies fighting at Texas Stadium.
Hey, 2 zombies in Texas Stadium would actually be more exciting than what you've just read to me.
Then why bring back zombie Gary Hart when you could bring back zombie Gene Kiniski and do a real big rematch?
Well, because Kiniski didn't have as much heat as Gary Hart did.
Well, that's true.
They might have wanted to see Fritz win the world title from Kiniski, but they didn't want to see him just hospitalize Kiniski like they want to see him hospitalize Gary Hart. So if you're going to book a zombie match, Brian, go for the heat.
Well, let's see if night 2 will make you feel like a zombie who needs to be hospitalized. Jim, a fatal 4-way...
I wish we had a defibrillator sponsor, because I'm going to need some kind of shock therapy about halfway through this thing.
A fatal 4-way tag team match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. The champions, Queen Zelina and Carmella, versus Sasha Banks and Naomi, versus Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, versus Natalya and Shayna Baszler.
So what you're saying to me is, if that's the first match on night 2, I can pull a Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman and show up late?
Well, no, I don't think so. I think this is WrestleMania. You have an obligation. You have to watch all these shows.
But then I'd have an obligation to talk about that match. And then our people, the people, would feel some obligation to listen to me talk about it, and I wouldn't want to do that to them.
Well, you have Rhea Ripley, you have Liv Morgan, you have Sasha Banks, Shayna Baszler,
we have Rhea Ripley, Lost in the Forest, Kate Seager, Carl Reed.
Sasha Banks is good, Liv Morgan's good, and Shayna Baszler you liked when, well, before she was a vampire. She was pretty good.
There's 4 fucking tag teams, 8 girls, all fucking doing random shit. It's going to be instead of a multi-man match, it's going to be a multi-woman match. Who's pulled one of those off lately, as in the last several years?
And we'll see what goes on there. But in the next match, it's anything goes.
Of course it is.
Match 2 on night 2, Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn.
You know, I'm glad they didn't run out of wrestlers to fight the celebrities. I mean, you know, again, Sami Zayn is going to try to come up with, and he's not a stupid guy, he's going to try to come up with all kinds of shit that this fucking goofy middle-aged moron, reality, not even reality, there's nothing about Jackass that was real, except their lack of mental capacity. He's going to try to figure out some shit the guy can do, and the guy, it's going to look like some green mark fan doing wrestling shit and high-risk stuff, because that's his gimmick, and I just refuse to believe Johnny Knoxville or anything that he's ever done that would cause them to want to go out of their way to see this program. Fucking idiot over a crew of complete idiots.
I do think he has fans. However, if you were going to use him in a WrestleMania to maximize his potential, it probably should have been 15 years ago. Not now.
From the looks of him, maybe 20.
Maybe 20.
And didn't he's the one that came out and said also he got a bunch of brain damage doing another one of his Jackass stunts. So now they're all on the wellness program, except when some jack-off that's never wrestled before, but he's been on a TV show, comes in and wants to jump off something. Oh, sure. Turn your fucking medulla oblongata into a pile of jello. We don't care. It's publicity.
We'll see how the wellness program is applied to the next match. Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory.
Okay, I'm actually looking forward to that. Because Theory obviously is a prodigy, and Pat McAfee, we saw him, well, he had 2 matches. And one was a multi-man match, but the other one with Adam Cole, he carried his end and more. So, and he loves the business. He's actually had training. He's trained under Rip Rogers on his own before he even got involved with the WWE. So, that'll probably be interesting. And Theory, even though he's green, you can't lose him. They've tried to lose him, and he sticks right with whatever. So if he can hang with Finn Balor, I would think that he'd be able to get something out of Pat McAfee.
Match 4 on night 2 of WrestleMania, a triple threat tag team match for the Raw Tag Team Championship.
Wait a minute! There's 3 of them where there's 4 in the other one.
Right. Well, the champions, RK Bro, comprised of Randy Orton and Riddle, will take on the Street Profits of Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, as well as Alpha Academy, Chad Gable, and Otis.
There are parts in there that you could actually pull out and put together something with, but all of them together at the same time, I can't be sexist, so I said the same thing about the multi-woman matches. I'll say about the multi-man matches. Nobody does them well, so I don't know why they keep doing them at all, and this one will be another one.
Well, speaking of another one, in a grudge match, Edge takes on AJ Styles.
This could be, what do they call them, a sleeper?
I should reload these double
Not to
shows.
sleep, but
See if they have the parts I need.
both those guys are incredible talents in the ring. I don't know, the writers took over and suddenly Edge lost his mind and, tried to kill AJ because what was his reason? He wanted the best AJ, so that's why he's going to make him mad or whatever the fuck. He was a beloved veteran that came back to get even, along with his wife, with nasty heels, and now 2 months later he's goddamn a lunatic, tried to kill AJ Styles. But if they just let him get in the ring and have a match, and they don't try to reinvent the wheel, make it cinematic, go on too long, put too much drama, or somebody's conflicted about whether they ought to stuck a rusty fishing knife up somebody's ass or not, and just let them have a match, it'll probably be very, very good.
Before I get to the final match currently listed for the 2 nights of WrestleMania, and I think you probably see why I said this was A, underwhelming, and B, there's no good reason why this couldn't all be on one night. If everyone needs to go 20 minutes, you're doing it wrong. WrestleMania 3 was great. How many of those matches went under 10 minutes?
Cut the fucking entrances down, and you'd have time for matches without having a 6-hour show.
One of the matches not listed here is the one we all presume will be happening. Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes. I would guess maybe it would be night 1 just because there are 5 matches in the Austin segment, and night 2 there are 6 matches listed. But we should mention that match unannounced here a week before the pay-per-view effect. But everyone presumes that match will happen, Chip.
And the question is how and why? Again, they've done all this falderall of Seth Rollins pitching a fit because he didn't have a spot at WrestleMania, to the point where then he fights his best friend to host his best friend's interview show and blah, blah, blah. Seth Rollins is a heel. Has been portrayed as a heel, has been acting like a heel, even though he's been interacting with other heels and baby faces willy-nilly. But if Cody shows up, are they expecting the people to really cheer him? Because to the WWE fans, are they mad at anybody that has been responsible for AEW? You see how they joust with each other? Well, I'm just wondering, you see how they all joust with each other on the internet? The AEW fans think the WWE sucks, which it does, and the WWE fans think the WWE sucks, which it does. promotions are good, which they're not. So the question comes now, who's the babyface? Who's the heel? Present this on that weekend without an angle. Does Cody just drop by to say hello and to set him out and say, now he's on WrestleMania and I'm not? Well, it's nice. That's what we need. How's it going to come out? And of course, again, even though I'm looking forward to something, I have a feeling they're going to fuck it up after the fact by some kind of or not remains to be seen, but that's what everybody's looking forward to it. I just hope there's some way that they don't screw it up and they keep one dominant universal champion or whatever they're going to call it going forward for the good of the business in general and the company, instead of all this ridiculousness of multiple champions everywhere. They honestly fucking go down and have an elimination series and come up with one set of women's champions, one set of tag team men's champions, one set of everybody, and then they can have the U.S. title or the Intercontinental title or whatever, but you can't have multiple world champions just because they're on a different channel. It's ridiculous. Or in the case of NXT, same channel as the other show, just different roster. It's ludicrous. Having said that, Brock and Reigns, and I'm predicting Roman Reigns, by the way, gets his hand in the air.
Well, some would say ludicrous, but others would say stupendous. And that is the two nights of WrestleMania. Currently, 11 matches listed in the Steve Austin segment, but with the Cody Rhodes match, that's 12 matches. There's no reason this needs to be 2 nights other than the desire to sell 2 nights worth of things.
Yes, and also the desire to indulge everybody in having 17-minute entrances and let them go 20 minutes bell to bell when people didn't really want to see the thing start to begin with. But that's, we're making content. We're just filling time now. It's not, when I first got into business, Bill Dundee said to me, we would say how long, we're not selling time, we're selling action. Get it right and go. Now we're not selling action, we're selling time. Stay out there until we tell you you can leave.
Do you think it would have helped modern wrestlers if they had worked Fort Worth TV?
Yes, then they wouldn't ever want to go long ever again. Because sometimes on that Fort Worth TV, you were out there, you felt like this is some level of hell that I'm in perpetually, and we will never be allowed to go home. Try a 25-minute 2 out of 3 fall cold singles match between fucking Brian Adidas and Dennis Condrey. Dennis was a goddamn genius and a magician, but there's only some things even Merlin can't do. Yeah, you had plenty of time to go out and go as long as you wanted on that program, and it would break you of the habit. But Brian, I'm just thinking after 2 nights of this, I gotta be honest, I don't know whether some of those matches are gonna go down very smooth or not. I'm worried about you and me both, our digestion.
Well, there's no need to worry because we obviously have a solution to any digestive issues.
Well, now it just depends. It depends on how bad this WrestleMania weekend might be, because even a great daily symbiotic might not be able to overcome the indigestion that we're going to suffer over this, but at least, as you said, we do have access to a broad spectrum, 2-in-1, probiotic and prebiotic daily symbiotic. You'll see a lot of biotics here, folks. Antibiotics, probiotics, prebiotics, all kinds of biotics. It's a proprietary formulation of 24 distinct probiotic strains in scientifically studied dosages. Of course, I'm talking about seed. Folks, the 2-in-1 capsule that protects the probiotics through the digestive system to ensure delivery to the colon. And that's what we're talking about here. Delivery to the colon. The colon has to be receptive of everything. And if your colon receives daily deliveries, you're going to feel better, look better, sound better, smell better. You're certainly going to be in a better mood. If you've taken a probiotic before and never felt a difference, it's likely because the good bacteria was not surviving through your GI tract to go straight to your colon. Well, folks, I'm here to tell you right now that if you listen to Brian Last and Jim Cornette, you will have things delivered to your colon on a regular basis, right straight through. No detours, no stopping, straight to the fucking colon. Because a daily symbiotic will support benefits in and beyond the gut. Seed will support ease of bloating. If you start bloating up until you're floating like that little delinquent in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, you don't have to start burping and farting. Because seed will ease your bloating.
Augustus.
You won't. Yeah, that's what his little prick's name was.
Little prick.
Yeah, well, he did what he wasn't supposed to do. Don't do that. We'll deliver some shit to your colon, too. Seed will also support healthy regularity.
It was a river of project. This is the eating.
Well,
And then he got stuck.
fudge in, fudge out. You know what they say. The healthy regularity will keep you in the bathroom pretty much all your daily life, or at least every waking hour. You'll notice that your butt goes
all day or anything.
aided by the ease of evacuation. Then there may be a polite way of saying, this shit's gonna fly out of you. And boy, I'll tell you what, make sure there's a splatter guard in the bathroom.
Stop it, we saw this week. You can use this product comfortably without worrying about needing splatter guards or easy exit without your consent.
No, you'll consent with the stuff exiting. You'll know it's leaving when it leaves. You'll know about it. The ease of evacuation, and also, there'll be no problem with the splatter guard. Paint the interior of your bathroom. Brown, you'll be fine. And it'll also support the seed's daily symbiotic. Will also support your gut barrier, your skin health, heart health, and your micronutrient synthesis. So if you're synthesizing micronutrients right now, don't use those chemicals you get paralysis will happen in your stomach with only the briefest of flames and
It'd be good to loot all the dead machines here.
Anyway, start a healthy new habit today, and then visit seed.com/drive and use the code DRIVE to redeem 20% off your first month of Seed's Daily Symbiotic. Seed.com/drive. Use the code DRIVE. You're going to get 20% off your first month. You're going to shit like a goose and love it. You're going to have a healthy gut as opposed to rotten gut or all the other things that can happen to your gut. You want to take care of your gut. I got a gut feeling about people's guts. They're important. So, seed.com. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Corny Crows edition of the Jim Cornette Experience. Today on the program, ZZ Top's influence on wrestling. I am once again pro wrestling's preeminent prognosticator, and are the dominoes starting to fall on AEW's fascination with garbage wrestling? All this and more, and joining me, Hawaiian Brian, the podcasting lion, the king of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network, Mr. Co-host to you, a man who only uses pizza cutters on his French toast, the great Brian Last, everybody.
Aloha, Jim. A pleasure to be here once again. And in fact, I had French toast just a short while ago.
I can only imagine that you often have it directly fed into your veins by some type of tubal system. A tubal system. A system of tubes.
That's ridiculous, but if that existed, I would certainly buy plenty of stock in the company that supplied the tubes.
A tubal company.
A tubal company.
You know, speaking of tubals and tunnels, I've got. What are you laughing at me? Well, already I'm about to talk about a disability I have here. I'm getting the carpal tunnel. Tubals and tunnels. I'm getting the carpal tunnel.
You're getting it.
I'm getting it. It has to be what it is because here, and I've got a new mouse, so now I have mice here, but not the kind that shit in the kitchen. But I got a new mouse that's more ergonomically designed, and I've moved my monitor setup on the desk because I noticed last week that where the mouse was sitting on the mouse pad here on my desk, that I was leaving the bottom of my wrist, right where the palm of your hand joins the palm bone connected to the arm bone. I'm leaving it laying on the desk, and it feels like it's bruised. Well, then I've got the bad neck, and this is my right hand, and I got the bad shoulder, and the bad neck is on the right side, and the bad shoulder's on the right side. All last week, I began getting an issue where every time I would turn my head in a certain direction, my hand would go to sleep, and my fingers would tingle. And I've been trying to not get in those positions, and it's getting better, but my wrist is still sore. I think that's the root of it. This technology is taking me apart piece by piece. It's destroying my whole right side, and that's my autograph signing side. Not to mention check signing side. So I need this in good shape.
Maybe you're signing too many checks. Maybe that's the problem.
No, I'm fucking clicking around on this mouse. The mouse doesn't even have any fur. It doesn't have a cute little nose and whiskers.
You don't have a wrist protector?
What the
like a little thing?
To use a goddamn computer?
Oh, no, not something, not a brace. A little thing you put on your desk, you put on your table, wherever you are, that you put, your hand on, your wrist on, while you're using the mouse. It elevates it a little bit. It's a cushion. It's very comfortable. They come in all sorts of designs and different. This one I have here is some.
You have one?
Yeah, this is some kind of jelly here, but you can get one that are not
a gelatinous substance
of some sort.
That's what you're talking about.
I will say,
gelatinous housing of some housing.
It was blue when it started. It's now green. But anyway, this is what I'm talking about.
That's often been my experience whenever I've been out with you in various places. But I didn't know that there was such a product.
You didn't.
No. I was not aware that they manufactured something like that.
Have you ever been in like an office store? And I'm not saying they're good. I hate Staples, but every now and then you have to go there.
Well, no, you go to the office store, you get your copy paper, you get your writing pads, your pens, your Scotch tape, things like that. Nobody has ever walked up to me and said, hey, put this under your wrist, see how it feels.
When was the last time you were in one of these stores?
Well, it's been a year and a half since I've been in a store.
Should be safe here.
I know, you just described basically what you would do if you were going in there as a teenager to get photos, like, send them to people. I need scotch tape, I need this.
Well, you know, that was about a year and a half ago. I stocked up. Because of the COVID.
How did we get the Staples?
Because you're telling me about this miracle new product that is not even a sponsor of our program,
No.
but hopefully somebody will be by the time we finish talking about it, that I didn't know existed to help my Corny's tunnel syndrome that I've got here.
I mean, again, I don't think anyone has the patent on it. And I don't even know what exactly it's called, because I just Googled wrist guards, and it came up as a brace. It's like a thing you put on your desk. The wrist, it can't just be something stupid. I don't know, hurt my wrist if I keep doing this.
The wrist Davenport, the wrist Schifferobe, I don't know what term you're going for here. I've never heard of this product.
A wrist rest.
A wrist rest?
A wrist rest. You need a wrist rest, my friend.
Oh, God damn it. My wrist rest has been arrested by this rusty mouse that I had before I was pushing the various clicking things with my finger, and I think that's what's led to my tendon problems and my pain, agony, and frustration.
At what point will a doctor be diagnosing this carpal tunnel?
No, I'm not going to the goddamn doctor. That's where the sick people go. That's the last one. I haven't been to a doctor in a year and a half because I've been sick in a year and a half. One of those things has something to do with the other. It could go either way. I don't want to go out to sick people just to get well. You got me whimsical. I was even going to talk about the Trump suckers promoting the COVID by not getting vaccinated and all this other stuff, but I won't even get into that right now because it'll just put me in a bad mood. But I do have a couple of emails here. Would you like me to read these, or do you care? Or are you just going to hang out while I do it anyway?
Well, you always have interesting emails to read, and you have such a wonderful way of reading them. It's like a narrator from the heavens listening to these emails.
You are a gentleman and a scholar. Jesus Christ, you blew me worse than Ed McMahon would blow Johnny Carson on a fucking Karnak.
Nobody ruffles these emails the way you do, because no one puts them out.
Well, see, I got them right here in front of me, so I can read them. Right here at hand.
Let's hear 'em.
Conveniently.
If only we could hear them.
Yes. Well, I was so part of the problem. I'll read them to you. So, and now you've brought levity in this. This was the first one's going to bring everybody way down, and I don't even mean to. But we have an email from Travis, and I'm going to try to. Because he said, Jim and Brian, to you two, working from home since COVID began a year and a half ago has been rough, but hanging out with the dog while I ran my meetings and kept my teams moving forward really helped. I found myself listening to the drive-thru podcast during downtime, and Leo, our dog, was usually on the couch in my office. I like to think he enjoyed what he was hearing as well. But my wife and I had to put Leo to sleep about a month ago, and listening to the podcast every week has been a comfort as well as being entertaining. I just wanted to take time to thank you both, and that's from Travis. And I wanted to recognize little Leo as being a fan of the show. And you just ruined the sentimentality of that by getting us all just laughing horribly.
Let me tell you, hearing that is very sad, and I certainly send my sympathies, and I'm very sorry, and the show will get better.
And, well, there you go. And Norman writes from Spartanburg, South Carolina. By God, Spartanburg, South Carolina. Norman says, I'm a 53-year-old fan from Spartanburg, South Carolina. My cousin and I would walk the country back roads as kids with our paper grocery bags, picking up Coke and Pepsi bottles to take them back to the store and exchange them for 10 cents a bottle. This is how we got our money to go to the Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium to see you and the Midnight Express. You guys were the greatest, and it was worth every barefooted mile that I walked collecting soda bottles to see you guys. Thank you, Norman. And now that's the kind of sentiment I like to know, that people actually once walked barefoot down country roads in the middle of the summer to pick up pop bottles and change them or take them in for the deposit to come and see us at the Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium.
Should have kept the bottles and waited in the parking lot.
Hey!
Throw them at the Express. Where were your priorities, Norman?
Some of them did. I wonder if it was Norman.
It was Norman. What do you think?
Oh, wait a minute. Now, hold on now. He's 53. I'll be 60 this year. He's 7 years. I'd be 68. That means he was 17 years old when he was...
Oh, he had a good arm. He had a good arm. He could throw those bottles a mile.
A 17-year-old pop bottle collector. Oh, thank you, Norman. We appreciate that. And lastly, I'm not talking about you now. I'm talking about the last email here. It's from Eric, and you know, this is in response, and I've gotten a lot of them, and I'm going to read a few more of them over the next few weeks. I didn't want to just bombard everybody with them, but a lot of people felt strongly about this, and they've written in, and I haven't even read them all yet. I'm trying to sort through all these things, but you know, a lot of people were offended since we have a number of listeners, and most of them consider themselves to be smart people. A number of people were offended, naturally, by not only Uncle Dave Meltzer, but also Twinkle Toes McFingerbang, saying that people that listen to my show, our show here, Brian, you and me, both of us, they lambasted both of us on this. The people that listen to our show are stupid, is what the aforementioned Uncle Dave and Twinkle Toes said. Low IQ was used, stupid was used, several other terms were used, and our folks do not appreciate it, and Eric wrote on behalf of many of them. Hello, Jim and Brian. I've been a fan of Mr. Cornette for decades and decades, although I'm only 35 years old. See, I get them young, Brian, and I hook them. And I listen to the show religiously from front to back. It should be atheistically, but nevertheless. I would like to discuss the status of your low IQ listeners, as I've never emailed you before or even sent in a question. As you can tell, very little offends me. I mean, I am a fan of yours. However, the comments made by Twinkle Toes personally insulted me, and I felt I had to justify to you just exactly what and who your fan base actually consists of. I don't want to keep harping on this subject, but it's been a week, and I finally found the time to compose myself. I'm a high school algebra teacher with numerous degrees. I spent 10 years studying in Boston College, where I obtained a double master's degree in education and mathematics. In 2017, I was selected by the district to travel to Tanzania. And everybody knows all the top people in the field go to Tanzania. I was selected by the district to travel to Tanzania, which is right down the road from Transylvania.
Remember when Taz was the Tanzania?
He certainly was. To receive the Fields Medal is what Eric received. The Fields Medal is a prize awarded to 2, 3, or 4 mathematicians under 40 years of age at the International Congress of Mathematics, whatever. I crossed. Okay. Anyway, I pride 2 pages here. I pride myself on my intelligence. The comments that Twinkle Toes and Uncle Dave Meltzer made struck a nerve with me. I'm certainly not here to brag or blurt out my accomplishments. I just took it personally when they refer to your listeners as low IQ. I take pride in my job and bettering myself every day to be a teacher my students look up to, and it isn't a crime to be a fan of real professional wrestling, and that of one Jim Cornette. He didn't specify which Jim Cornette, but that's from Eric. He took offense to being called an idiot. As I wonder if anybody on that side of the fence is rethinking slinging around dumb, stupid, low IQ, or idiot comments after this week's happenings over there in the Lollipop Guild. We'll get to that later on, but I wonder if they're starting to maybe throw some of those verbs around internally. Stupid. Dumb mother. Stupid. Anyway, you know, Brian, I tell you what, it's an awful lot easier to think clearly, evaluate the things that you do, and that you might be getting yourself into before you do them, if you've had not only a good night's sleep, but also a healthy breakfast in the morning. Don't you think that's true?
That's exactly right.
And that's why the surveys have shown that 82% of the people who eat Magic Spoon in the morning for breakfast generally don't do stupid shit like some other people do that have